What's up, sinners? Welcome to Up to No Good. Today, let's talk about Jesus being the only way into heaven and junk. Man, you want to get some people's britches twisted all up in knots? Tell them that Jesus is the only way into heaven. Woo. Hell no, my righteousness will get me wherever the hell I want to go in the next life, not Jesus. Okay, well, let's say that heaven or whatever the afterlife is what you imagine it to be. I can assure you, you're going to hate it. You can't design paradise. None of us can design paradise. If I tried to design my own afterlife, I would get sick of it. If you try to design your own afterlife, you would get sick of it. None of us are perfect, so none of us can design a perfect dwelling. Yeah, that includes you. That's why I leave the designs of the afterlife up to the professional. The afterlife is too big of a project for any of us to try to conceive or design ourselves. So if you're one of those kind of people that says, well, to me the afterlife is this and to me the afterlife is that, well, you're already ruining it. If there were different versions of a so-called paradise, then that means that each so-called paradise would be lacking something that another so-called paradise has. Yeah, well, Mr. Zoe, how do we know that the Bible is the final word on heaven? Dude, I don't know. I ain't never been to heaven. It takes a little thing called the F word, and the F-bomb in this case is faith. And the word faith is more offensive to atheists than the F word that Samuel L. Jackson likes to use. What? Mother Faither, do you know who I am? I'm Samuel L. Jackson. I'm the crazy Nebuchadnezzar about to get medieval on your apostate. Oh, darn. You mean in order to get into heaven, I have to have the prerequisite of faith? Yeah, man, I don't think there's too many places you can get into without some sort of prerequisite, I guess. If you're gonna enter into a marriage, you're gonna have faith in your spouse. Because if you don't have faith in your spouse, it's gonna be hell in your house. And if you betray the faith and trust and sin against your spouse, it is gonna be hell in your house. Now, heaven is a real exclusive club, y'all, and as the saying goes, people are dying to get in. I reckon a joint like that would be kind of hard to get into, and Jesus has issued the perfect code, knock, password, secret handshake, or whatever you want to call it, to get in. Faith. That is what's so hard about getting into heaven. To get into clubs, super fantastic. Some of you are gonna have to do the damn near impossible. That being getting over your ego and exercising a little thing called faith. Some of y'all would rather give up an arm's length of your intestine as opposed to giving up a little bit of your so-called sophistication as to believe in this Jesus fellow who supposedly has the key to your salvation. The big hump to get over to get into heaven is yourself. I can hear the haters already, man. You need to get over yourself. Then you got people like the Oprah who says that Jesus can't be the only way into heaven. I mean, what about the people who have never heard of Jesus? What about them? Are they going to hell? No, they're not. And we're gonna go more in depth than that in another video. But in the meantime, let's get through this. If we're talking about all these roads and ways you can get to heaven, well, we're still talking about one place. And I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that you can't just get into this place any way that you want to. You can't get into a fraternity or a sorority any old way that you want to. You can't even get into a gang any old way that you want to. What in the horny toad makes you think that you can get into heaven any old way that you want to? To get into this place, there's only one way. I mean, thank God we're free to try any old way that we want to get there, but when we get to the gate, it's still gonna come down to one factor. It's kind of like taking a whole bunch of different ways to get to the 7-Eleven store. You can approach the 7-Eleven store from the north, the south, east, west. You can take your car, you can take your bike, you can walk, you can take a skateboard, whatever. Okay, you're taking all these ways to get to 7-Eleven, but in order for you to get what you want from 7-Eleven, you're gonna have to have something representing U.S. currency. I represent U.S. currency, and nobody cometh to the Slurpee but by me. Jesus, God in the flesh, Mr. High and Mighty himself, stepped off his throne to be one of us, to be among us, to love us, to teach us, and to heal those who asked. He came and dwelt amongst people as a human being, and he showed them miracles so they could see and believe. And there were those who did see the miracles and they still didn't believe. That's why God doesn't concern himself or prove himself to skeptics now. God has already proven that the empirical evidence that people like you demand doesn't even satisfy people like you. Because your skeptical and scrutiny-laden nature is more important to you. You don't long for proof. Your lust is in trying to disprove. Your passion isn't for the truth. Your passion is in trying to label someone or something as a lie. And life to you would be meaningless without your self-appointed seat of judgment. God knows people like you. He even gave people like you the proof they demanded. He even died to prove it to them. Big deal. Other people have suffered and died for other people. That's true. But who do you know that has suffered and died for someone by putting themselves into a position that they could fully get out of scot-free? God knows I respect our military. But if one of them gets captured, it ain't like that person can say, okay, you got me now, you can let me go. Whereas Jesus could have. Jesus had legions of angels at his disposal, and all it would have taken was one to scorch the earth. Jesus Christ could have exhaled and blown out the sun to put a stop to what was being done to him and save himself, while at the same time making mankind pay in freezing darkness. But Jesus isn't the one who needed saving. He came to save us. To make sure that everyone has a chance at everlasting life, he gave his. That's a hell of a gift to find under the Christmas tree. And hey, a nice Christmas present to me is if you share these videos with your friends, family, and people who get on your nerves. And if you got any questions or comments, chuck it in the bucket.